The Panthers might have lost on the ice during the Winter Classic, but South Florida won with putting an outstanding event in the first outdoor game in Florida.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Saturday, January 3rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, and we are your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. Follow the show anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. That is Florida Panthers and Marlins historian Francisco Oporta joining me on the show. You could follow his page at FLA Cats History on X, and you could also follow his Marlins history account at Marlins History. Shout out to everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check out the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. You can do that all on FanDuel. So, Panther fans, grateful to be back here once again on another edition of the show to discuss everything in the world of the Florida Panthers. As today we are going to talk everything regarding the Winter Classic. And first segment, we're going to discuss all the pregame activities. Segment number 2, we are going to discuss the Panthers' 5-1 loss against the New York Rangers from LoanDepot Park. And then we are going to discuss how the Panthers manage the emotions after, now that they've gone through a game like this. But Francisco, there's no other person that I would want to join me on this edition of the show, because we have discussed so many historic moments for the Florida Panthers, from President's Trophy, 3 straight finals, and now getting this game. And honestly, the fact that you and I were basically at the ballpark all day. I mean, you picked me up at 11:30. We went to Cafe Versailles, and we went to the old Miami Coliseum on Douglas Road in Coral Gables and saw that site, and then heading to the Fan Fest and just seeing everything and seeing how many people were there from the start of Fan Fest as well. That is really something that stuck out to me, of how many people were arriving so early and looking forward to an event like this.
Yeah, it's great for the NHL, great for the Florida Panthers, great for the fans that did come down to South Florida for all this. And of course, the fans that were already here. The New York Rangers fans were already here in droves anyways. So, but I'm sure a ton did travel down. A ton have already traveled down because they're snowbirds anyways. But this event was, I guess, another validation for this franchise over the course of the last 5 or so years now. Every single thing the Panthers have earned, especially with all this, they earned the NHL draft, they earned the NHL All-Star game, they earned those Stanley Cups, and they definitely earned this Winter Classic. Whether anybody else wants to say that or against it completely, the Florida Panthers earned this, and they deserved this. The fan base deserved it. The sport of hockey deserved this, because that was the thing that we were, of course, discussing, going the back and forth with the trolls online as well, is that so many people were against this NHL Winter Classic in Miami, the thought of this, the ridiculousness of this. But this is going to be remembered as the most unique NHL Winter Classic. Yeah. Okay. And it went off without a hitch. The roof opened, the ice didn't melt. The ice melted at Lake Tahoe. Okay. Yeah. And the Florida Panthers, the NHL, the Marlins, whoever you want to credit for all of this, I'm sure it's a joint effort, really, put together this event, and it went swimmingly.
Yeah. With no pun intended, maybe or maybe not. You did that with the connection to the fish, but 36,153 fans attended the event, and the most it got was 62 degrees on the evening. So still not the warmest Winter Classic that we had in history. FanFest was kind of similar to what we saw with the All-Star game, with the shooting of the pucks into a washer and dryer. kind of the Ticketmaster one, and then different places that you could meet NHL former players like Ed Jovanovski had 2 places that you could meet him. Henrik Lundqvist, Paul Bissonnette. People were all over Paul Bissonnette in the No Bowl tent as well. And it's crazy because when we were walking around there, it was really hard to at least get space. And, I mean, kind of like New York, when you go on the subway, you're bumping into people left and right. It's kind of impossible for that to not happen as well. So kind of awesome to see it go similarly in South Florida. But some of the things that really stuck out to me was just another thing, the player arrivals as well for both teams. The Panthers, obviously being the South Florida team, did a better job, in my opinion, of doing the player arrival with their Miami Vice. I mean, Matt Rempe was one of those guys wearing the only guy wearing the tank top, as if he was like going to be like fight night in South Florida. I mean, his NHL debut was during an outdoor game last year against the Islanders.
Some people said he looked like a taller Tyler Hero.
Yes, that too. Good point. But the Panthers going with the Miami Vice, the neon colors, Matthew Tkachuk with the cigar coming in, and it was lit up as he was walking into the building. So thank goodness nothing went off. But also the fact that they came in Ferraris, and David Dwork, he made a little funny quote saying they can't come in Lamborghinis because Ryan Lomberg isn't here anymore. So I'm like, good point, my friend. But that was pretty cool that they arrived there. But also, it was approximately 5:15, and they were running on Miami time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you could see, of course, the traffic around LoanDepot Park is notoriously awful. And they got stuck in traffic just like everybody else. So they all got the authentic Miami experience. Of course, some of the players do live in Miami. Sergei Bobrovsky lives in Miami. So he's used to the Miami traffic. But it was funny to see all of that. But it was incredibly fun. I was recording and live streaming while the player introductions or the player intros were happening when they were entering LoanDepot Park and fist bumping the fans. And it was an incredibly interactive experience for so many. The players were very accommodating to people. Brad Marchand out there with the pocket square and signing autographs and taking photos with people and selfies and everything. So and you can see Barkov as well. Barky was there walking just fine. Okay, so bit by bit there, we're not expecting him to come back anytime soon, but little by little, he's getting there. Tkachuk, he was there. He was obviously enjoying it. And the droves of people, the parking garages were full of people taking photos and everything from above. It really was a very festive atmosphere that's honestly one of the, I guess for you as well, probably one of the best things we've ever experienced in hockey, in sports, really.
No
I've
doubt,
been to the NBA finals. I've been to the Stanley Cup final. I've been to the World Baseball Classic final, but the Winter Classic itself was, it is up there in one of my most favorite events to ever attend, save for the game.
And listen, it was a core memory for a lot of South Florida fans that they got to experience something different at that ballpark. And Matthew Tkachuk and Alexander Barkov going on the stage with role model with the Stanley Cup, that was pretty cool. Dmitry Kulikov was on the glass before the game with puck please, because knowing that fans weren't that close to the action there as opposed to what they experienced at Amerant Bank Arena. But then just the fact that we had how climactic what the roof opening was, because not only was Luis Fonsi coming in singing Despacito with the guys coming out, but as the 14-minute opening of the roof was going on and the player intros, the national anthem wrapped up with the roof concluding opening. So well timed by the NHL, and also the planning was absolutely perfect when it came to right before puck drop. So I thought that was the coolest thing about just and also the fact that they said over the PA warning that it's going to the panels were going to be opening first and then the roof.
Yeah, I think that might be a bit of a plan to see, hey, let's open the panels first, see how everything reacts, and then open the roof now. And yeah, the timing was absolutely perfect. The intro, the most unique. I know a lot of people were poo-pooing that online, but hey, man, look, hockey fans, y'all need to have some fun. Okay.
Yes.
We need some silliness. We need some wackiness. Okay, we've got it in the NBA. Major League Baseball does some fun things as well. And like you got like people, we need some of this, some of that Latin flair. Like you guys saw some of it, and the best thing about this Winter Classic for me is that people were saying, "Oh, this isn't winter. This isn't what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be out in the cold and the snow." I'm sure a ton of those New York Rangers fans were glad that they weren't minus 20-degree weather in Buffalo right now. Okay. I'm sure a ton of them were glad that they weren't freezing their butts off and in a pretty mediocre hotel in Winnipeg right now. Okay. And I'll tell you this, and they don't have any parks coming to Brisgolov, but in any case, this is winter because the tilt of the earth relative to the sun determines it is winter here in South Florida. And this is what winter is to us. Okay.
Yes.
This is our version of winter that people for the first time from New York may have experienced as well. People saw it for the first time. It's Miami. This is what people experience. This is what seasoning tastes like in your food. Okay. This is what music sounds like to us. So yeah, Despacito, it's been a while since people heard that and it was on the radio all the time. But hey, we heard it. It went perfectly. Seeing the Florida Panthers come out to that after seeing so many Latin ball players and the thrill of like the World Baseball Classic in baseball in a baseball venue, this was our version of winter. You saw it. This is what we experienced. 60-degree weather is sweater weather for us.
Yes.
Okay. And like, this is our Winter Classic. It's going to be the most unique. It's probably the only one we're ever going to get. You guys keep getting all the other stuff. We can just give us just one. Okay. We had one in Dallas already. Might get another one in Tennessee at some point. Like, come on, folks. Stop gatekeeping, as you've been saying throughout this entire week or so.
Yeah, the NHL, I'm going to put a Latin flavor in this sentence. The NHL decided to put some adobo on the Winter Classic when it comes to that. So glad that it came out tasting really great for that. But now we got to transition and talking about the actual game, how the Panthers have shown that they are more indoor cats than outdoor cats, and the Rangers are wondering what it would take for James Dolan to remove the roof at Madison Square Garden. We'll discuss that all next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app right before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new: boosts, bonuses, and surprises. The timing is perfect. Right before games, right before the weekend starts. It adds energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check out the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour. Every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern, a little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday's energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you guys once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day on the nation's #1 sports podcasting network, Locked On. And if you haven't already, go check out the new Everydayer Club. It's our exclusive Everydayer Club that you get to be part of a members-only Discord server for group chat for listeners of the show. It's compatible with Apple, Spotify, and every other major podcasting app. Make sure to tap the link in the show notes to learn more about our Everydayer Club. Back here with Florida Panthers historian Francisco Oporta. Here, Armando Velez hosted the show to discuss the Panthers Winter Classic game from LoanDepot Park. The event was great, everything before the game, but the game for the Panthers was not so great, as we saw the ceremonial puck drop with Roberto Luongo and two of his former teammates, Vincent Trocheck on one side, Aaron Ekblad on the other. So that was a little cool touch, but the Panthers lose 5-1 against the New York Rangers, almost doubling the amount of shots. And despite 15 skaters having outdoor game experience, the Rangers definitely showed that they have more of that the outdoor game experience, as now they are 6-0-0, and we witnessed the first hat trick in Winter Classic history, thanks to Mika Zibanijad, and the third in an outdoor game ever. But really, this game really started to take a turn for me, in my opinion, when the Panthers lost Seth Jones, and they off a faceoff hits him in the collarbone area, which Paul Maurice did say that it doesn't seem too serious. But the Panthers' inability to get the puck out of their own zone, getting a puck in deep while on the PK, hurt them on a rush chance, committing to the strong side, and then another one in the first period where Carver Hagee turns it over, and then the high slot area was open for Artemi Panarin to get through a screen. So I thought that with the conditions of the ice, although it was new, the Panthers were having the Panthers were relying so much on their dump and chase game, which we saw that throughout the playoffs, why they were able to win those board battles and get so many shots on goal. But the high danger chances for New York were higher for them versus the Panthers.
You know what was very uncharacteristic when I saw Anton Lundell early in the game made an errant pass up the middle, and Mika Zibanejad just wide open stolen. It looked like a Tua Tagovailoa interception. Okay, it was very, very reminiscent of that, and he had a free and easy shot up the middle of the slot there. Bobrovsky, luckily, nothing came of it, but then he, of course, came of it with a hat trick later on. So very uncharacteristic. I think maybe
on a backhand too.
There's a few factors there. I don't know. It looked like they weren't moving the same way that they normally do. Even though the ice looked pretty fine from where I was sitting above and you were sitting in the press box, they were around the same level as far as our vantage points. But it just didn't look like they were comfortable with it completely. I don't know if Bobrovsky had issues with viewing the puck or anything like that either. Remember the layout with the ice is the fans are far away and the seating arrangement's different. I don't know. There could be something to that, but of course, I don't think there's any excuses. On the other side, Igor Shesterkin and the Rangers were facing the same elements, and they had some giddy up, especially going up 2-0, and then they even had some giddy up coming out of that, going into the second period as well. They just had a lot more energy to them, and I think the Panthers are just trying to find their game there, and they just couldn't throughout much of that. They got the lone goal later on, but I don't think the Panthers were able to settle into this game. And I was hoping that we could go further into the baseball element of this being a 3-game series, and they could take the next 2. But unfortunately, we're not doing that. The Panthers had just the 1 game here, and unfortunately, they just couldn't get a feel for it.
Yeah, and I can't blame stadium lights neither, because in baseball, the stadium lights are higher than they are at a hockey arena. So that I don't think that had anything to do with.
And LoanDepot Park's lighting is fairly standard. It's basically just a square. They're pretty much in even space. They're not in any sort of weird locations compared to other ballparks. So I can't really say it's the lighting either.
No.
In regards to that, I think they just couldn't find their game, and then unfortunately the Rangers did. And they just thrived on the energy, and we heard those Rangers fans. And unfortunately, I know Luongo, being the puck drop person with Trocheck and Ekblad, was very special, all former teammates as well. But we really could have used Josh Beckett to really strike into the hearts of those New Yorkers.
No doubt. But and I was making a lot of baseball references. After the first period, it was through 3 innings. After the second period, through 6 innings. Like, can the South Florida team force extras? But going back to the hockey references here, the middle of the ice was open on those re-entries in the zone. I mean, you even saw it in the goal that in the third goal for the New York Rangers, where because Zibanejad got his second of the game, where Trocheck loses his edge and was still able to get it to Lafreniere. And then the Panthers, once again, in that one, were a little bit frozen. And honestly, there was a quote that Nate Schmidt had last year about the controller coming out of the battery coming out of the controller and then freezing. That was the same thing for the Panthers, kind of when Trocheck was entering the zone, and then the feed towards the middle on the rush. And I'm looking at the stat, Francisco. Although the Panthers outshot attempted the Rangers 63-35 at 5-on-5 and 29-15 total shots, the high danger opportunities is the one that stands out the most, 7-6 in favor of New York. And the fact that even the amount of space that the Panthers had and the slot shots that they had, the attempts were at 21, but a lot of misses. There were 20 misses at 5-on-5 and then 30 overall. I mean, Etu was crashing the net. Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart eventually got that goal off that slick backhand pass from Sam Bennett, which Aaron Ekblad saved the puck from exiting the zone while they're on the power play. But it really came down to the fact that the Panthers were winning their battles, but it was just very quick off the puck there. And also there were at times where they were cycling and just being a little hesitant sometimes on their shots. But even when they were, it was just not enough stick handling to create an open lane. It was just very getting their Corsi up.
Yeah, and they had a chance early on in the game to dictate this game. They had 6 power plays.
Yeah.
Okay. And they had chances at the beginning of the game, especially. They had 2 power plays in the first period alone. And unfortunately, the Rangers got a power play with the unfortunate delay of game penalty there. But and they were unable to capture the momentum from there. So the Panthers could have dictated the tone and pace of this game early on with an early power play goal, but they just couldn't find the back of the net, and they really weren't really hitting the back of the net in any sort of way or getting near it with a lot of their shot chances. So I still can't really explain it. I think it's just a bad game that unfortunately happened in a very big event.
Yeah, and Sergei Bobrovsky was having a hard time sometimes seeing the pucks when the pucks were towards the point. And honestly, there was one where he might have been screened by Aaron Ekblad on one of the goals, and then one of them on the PK, the second Artemi Panarin goal. There was a lot of, which was on the power play. Artemi Panarin had a nice little lane to at least take a few strides and still nail a wrister past Bobrovsky. So it was just a matter of not being able to be comfortable in a game like this. But hey, but also we've seen signs of the Panthers just dominating possession over the Rangers. I mean, that Eastern Conference final game from 2 seasons ago, a lot closer than the final score actually indicated. I mean, even you came on after game 3 where you were even calling it a fluke from the start, from the time when Alex Wenberg got that overtime winner against the Panthers due to the fact that out of position on a faceoff because Sam Bennett still had the injury. But there are still signs of the Panthers on what they did well from that conference final in tilting the ice in their direction.
Yeah, I can't really. I mean, the Panthers, regardless of the outcomes of games, have remained fairly consistent in the way that they play. Okay. Of course, the heavy forechecking and all those types of things. Of course, not closing in space on defense as well, not allowing the opposing team to have space to create plays. But that always continues, and you can still see it, but they just couldn't get anything going. They were able to get the 1 goal early in the 3rd period, and it was like, okay, maybe they can get something going here. But unfortunately, New York counters, and at 4-1, the game was gone by that point.
Yeah.
And regardless of the kicked in goal by Reinhart, it still felt like New York was going to lock that down.
Yeah.
It just you could just see and could tell the momentum, and that unfortunately they couldn't get it. They couldn't recapture anything from that alone. And I just chalk it up to, once again, just an unfortunate game where they made some mistakes that really killed them in the end. Because I mean, even that first delay of game penalty, did not need to happen whatsoever. Okay, could have chipped it up the boards, but an errant flip, and it just happened, and then New York scores almost right away. So hey, it happens, and the Panthers playing a good Montreal team. The New York Rangers, who were only 2 points behind them at the start of this game, and this is the NHL. All right. Everybody else is going to get your number at some point, and they really need to put this one away. Okay, we all had our fun before the game, and I'm sure they're reminiscing on the experience of it afterwards. But it's a day off today, and they're back at it early tomorrow against Colorado.
Yeah, and then in this one, the fact that they don't play on an ice like this often, I mean, that it was a little harder for them to stick handle handle the puck. I mean, two puck over glass penalties, one from New York as well, and then I mean, you mentioned the disallowed goal by Reinhart on an obvious kick, and then to think that there's another disallowed goal from Vincent Trocheck which was an obvious, very very obvious high stick. I even saw that from my view. It's like no way that's going to count, and Garrett Rank waved that off immediately for that one. That would have made it 4-0 at the time, but still the Panthers had a big hill to climb, but it doesn't take away from the success of this event. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we are going to discuss how the Panthers come down from this performance. And now that the Winter Classic has passed, now the Panthers face a little bit of adversity going into the second half. We'll discuss this next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Segment number 3 here on this Saturday, January 3rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Armando Velez here with Francisco Oporta, Florida Panthers and Marlins Historian here on the show. Now we have to discuss a little bit more about how the Panthers come down from an event like this, because the emotions were so high with embracing the region. Lots of red in the crowd. Congratulations to South Florida on showing out for this, because it was a sea of red. Don't let anybody tell you. Although there were still a lot of New York Ranger fans. Don't get me wrong there. But Paul Maurice was asked a little bit about now that there could be maybe a little bit of a sense of normalcy, which was a question that Tim Reynolds of the Associated Press asked him, and Paul Maurice, with a wise answer, saying, "I don't know if there's anything normal about anything in the NHL," and the fact is. Also, Paul Maurice says that he's usually grumpy after losses, but also got a chance to take a look back and appreciate what the hardworking men and women did for multiple weeks to put on a show like this. You hype it up, you bring all of your ice crew to do this just for 3 hours of your time, and obviously it's a good return on investment for the NHL. But the fact that the game was on full display in a region like this, I think that looking more into the present moment at that time, I think that Paul Maurice has his head in the right place when it comes to this. And he even said it was about the show more than the X's and O's.
Paul Maurice always has a nice way of using his words to express, I guess, the beauty of the game of hockey. He's coached for so long, been through Stanley Cup finals, has won the Stanley Cup, has attended pretty much every event you could possibly imagine with regards to the world of hockey, and has been in outdoor games before.
3 of them.
So he knows that, and the importance of what they are doing, what they've accomplished in South Florida. Because I was covering this team back when the Violas first purchased the team, and the upper deck is curtained off, and 5,000 people are showing up to a game in October against Ottawa, and it looks like this team is in dire straits. And bit by bit, little by little, they were able to claw back. Okay, this franchise winning Division 2016, Bill Zito coming in and changing this franchise's trajectory, trading for Matthew Tkachuk, and then convincing Paul Maurice to come out of retirement and coach this club. And the spectacle of it, the fact that they were accomplishing something that seemed far-fetched when you write it out, when you put it on paper, and knowing that this is going to be one of the most unique experiences in hockey for any of his players. In a season where the Panthers have have faced probably the most adversity that they face since starting this run, with
Mm-hmm.
the injuries, with guys trying to come up and trying to play within this system. He's admitted himself that he's been a little softer on the players this season because he knows all these deep playoff runs and they are shorthanded with regards to their bench. Seth Jones went down, but that uh, the ability to have their families come in, the family skate, right? All
Mm-hmm.
of this to enjoy the spectacle of putting on this sport in a region that even 5 years ago wouldn't have gone this rabid for this team. Okay.
Yeah,
And now sold out arena every night, sold out baseball stadium. Okay. I think we could have sold out Hard Rock Stadium. I really
maybe.
do think we could have done that. So,
Yeah.
and there's a chance if they pull off whatever they're going to pull off in Tampa, we could see the Panthers back at one of these at Hard Rock Stadium in the future. So get ready, Canada and the North. You're going to be pissed off again.
Yeah, and I asked Paul Maurice during the pre media availability after they arrived, asking him, "Hey, I know you said that it was going to be you're going to have to find a way to get yourself in a great mood after Tuesday's loss against Montreal." And he spoke about the breakfasts, the family skates, about how that automatically made it better and how he was able to get over it. So I love that answer from Paul Maurice. And also, I asked Bill Zito about the cherry on top, if this was one, and he said there's only one cherry on top, and it's the Stanley Cup. So their mind is still in the right place. I know they're out of a playoff spot as of right now, but we're about to hit the halfway point. Just Sunday's game will officially be the halfway point. But also discuss a little bit about how maybe it's the beginning if the Panthers continue to have success. I know they're aging. I know they're hurt right now, but the fact that the pieces are still together there, and if they do eventually get healthy, which maybe we see Matthew Tkachuk on this road trip, maybe we see him when the Panthers do return home after their Canadian road trip. Who knows what'll happen? I'm sure he would travel, but I'm very positive that the Panthers can just continue to get this going. But also, one thing I want to point for Bill Zito, they also their Panthers on the Prowl initiative for charity for the American Cancer Association. They've raised $700K as of right now, and they're close to their $1 million goal. If you went to the game on Friday, you saw all the Panthers on the Prowl for them.
The West Plaza.
Yeah, and on the West Plaza, and also so many different things like Miami Heat, Augusta National, you name it, for the South Florida theme, and you could. There's a little bit of those cross cultures of owning something with the Florida Panthers and putting something to a great cause, which I wanted to give a special shout out to the Florida Panthers. But the Panthers are going to be back at home Sunday against Colorado. They'll be wearing their Winter Classic jerseys, which I can't wait to see once again in person, because I really truly love the sweaters that they wore there. And you're going to see them in the crowds. You still see reverse retro jerseys from 2020 2021 for the Panthers. Even the most recent one in 2023. Those are jerseys that a lot of fans have still come to games for. But as far as this one, this is their first losing streak of 2 since early December. To think that they were last place after the Toronto game, after coming out flat in this one, only getting that shorthanded goal by Sam Reinhart, and to think that they've still climbed themselves back into this, and even 1-2 game losing streak, they're still on the outside looking in. So even on a little bit of a run that they were on, they still can't relax. And it goes back to that quote that Paul Maurice said: "Nothing is normal in the NHL," and this adversity for the Panthers, which they did have adversity after the Global Series, is going to be good for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think they definitely won't rest on the laurels for sure. The Eastern Conference doesn't really have any slackers as far as franchise is concerned. Every team for a bit there was above 500 as far as points percentage is concerned. You had the Buffalo Sabres go on a massive win streak as well. So anything could happen, really. Who would have predicted that early on in the season, right? But I think Colorado being the opponent, they definitely have to be up for that game.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
the best team in the NHL, and they got their butts smacked up in Denver. So I think the Panthers will definitely want to respond, especially because this is a litmus test as to where their franchise is right now. I know the injuries kind of skew the perspective or at least the view of the Panthers right now, but they're not making excuses for themselves with regards to that
Mhm.
because other teams have injuries too. And they really want to show that that they can play and be up to par with a team like Colorado, and that hey, once we're healthy, like this is even our final form. Once we're healthy, we'll be good to go for the playoffs. But they have to make it. They have to make it in the Eastern Conference right now. You got teams fighting, jostling for position there, and I think once we do get Kachuk back, once we do get Kulikov, some bodies back here, the Panthers will ultimately be fine. But all it takes is a team going on a weird win streak like Buffalo, and you're on the outside looking in still. But I think with the opponent coming in, and it doesn't get much easier going forward, they'll be fine. And the Olympic break eventually could also really help them out in the long run.
Yeah, no doubt. And Panthers won't be on a second end of a back-to-back this time and in high altitude in Colorado. So hopefully the Panthers will have a better showing on Sunday. They have been great against Colorado at home for the most part, with the exception of last year. That was before they made those trades for the two goaltenders in Wedgwood and Blackwood. That was still with Alexander Georgiev between the pipes when they faced last year around October, November. I forget which month, but it was really early in the season when the Avalanche made their trip to South Florida last year. So we'll see how the Panthers eventually respond to this one. But Francisco, I want to thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers, recapping the Winter Classic and the success that South Florida put for an event like this. Tell everybody where they can find you and your work online, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, X.com is where I'm mainly posting. You'll see a lot of things. I also have a TikTok page, South Florida Sports Historian, there where I'm posting clips from all of South Florida sports history and Marlins history. I did a nice little fun mixing and matching there with the split personalities between the Marlins and the Panthers there for this the entire day. I had a lot of fun with it. I met some people over the course of the day that follow me, and I follow them, and that was really fun to see as well. And so the day was amazing, and I'm really glad for everybody that had the chance to experience it. I hope on my YouTube channel I try to live stream as much as I could uh, throughout the day with some of the events like the player intros and the pregame area, just to be the proxy, just to be the vessel for people who weren't able to show up, who wanted to be there, but just couldn't be there. So if you want to look back at that, I've got some clips on there from my live streams, and you can see some of from the fan perspective as to the day. So very happy for this, and I was very happy to attend it, and very happy to join you with it, Armando, for the day. It was a very special experience.
Absolutely. We had an absolute ball of an afternoon and an evening there in Little Havana. And I can't wait for the next event that you and I will get to discuss here, whether it's maybe it's another Stanley Cup final, another draft. Who knows what
To the World
we will
Series.
what will
Uh,
we what
Come
we will
on,
cover
Bruce.
next.
Let's
Come
get
on.
the World Series. Let's sign some guys. Let's go.
Yeah. There
All
was
right.
there was precipitation at LoanDepot Park for snow pre and post game. Not the first time it's happened in LoanDepot
Snowing
Park.
back here. I mean,
2015 opening
I
day.
got snow back here. Yeah. So.
2015 opening day, Caribbean
Oh, boy.
Series semifinal. A lot has happened there, despite having a roof. But Francisco, thank you so much, my friend, and I will see you again very soon. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone, and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospect. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Francisco Oporta. And you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.